about the outcome of case study Affinity Millennium Construction Project towards environment. Okay, that is the four scope of the case study. Number one is impact of project to environment during and after construction. Second one is comment on the project whether require the environment impact assessment. And the third one is suggest alternatives to protect the environment during after construction. And the fourth is elaboration of appropriate act and regulation related to the issue in Malaysia. Okay, to better understand the project, let's take a look at this clip. Okay, start with environmental impact on this project. Okay, Ms. Kaifang, can you explain to us a little bit about this environmental impact to the environment?
Alright, so during the case study that we have carried out in the project of Affinity Medini, I have already selected three main environmental impact that possible might happen in the construction project itself. So from the first one will be in terms of a human environment. So as we all know that during the construction project going on, there will be there will be the presence of a large group of construction workers. Of course, they are foreigners, so they might cause social tension and also additional pressure on formal and informal social services. Besides that, in terms of human environment, it can also cause temporary disturbance and disruption to the local residents, business and users of area. In terms of dust production, noise from a development site, as well as the closure of road. And during construction of Affinity Medini, of course there will be transport of construction materials to the site. So therefore it will cause congestion and disruption of existing traffic patterns. So that is for human environment, the first point. And the next point will be utilization of natural resources. So not only construction carried out in Affinity Medini, I'm very sure that in other construction sites as well, they are also utilizing natural resources. For example, they are using several construction equipments that actually require the consumption of natural resources such as electricity and also diesel fuel. Besides that, in the project initiation, also it requires removal of vegetation, which will result in the loss of feeding and breeding of habitat. And some species may be also displaced and may be migrate to some unfamiliar or less suitable territory. Besides that, noise generated by site preparation and also construction may also cause sensitive species to be displaced. And lastly, for utilization of natural resources, subsequent landscaping of the completed site may also have ecological impact if inappropriate non-native species are used. And for another environmental impact which is also very important is in terms of air and climatic impacts on the project. So as we all know that not only in Affinity Medini construction, for other construction activities which carry out also will give impact to the environment as well as the climate. So in this case, during site preparation and also construction works, local air quality may be declined as a result from the dust created. Besides that, dust generated by vehicle moving on exposed surfaces during dry weather will also increase the climate temperature. So what I can conclude from the case study that I've carried out in terms of environmental impact of project is that development of Affinity project may cause impact to environment during and afterwards. So therefore, there is a need for the management team to conduct environmental assessment as well as looking for environmental friendly approach for its construction activities.
Okay, thank you. Do you think there is a need to impact environment assessment for this project?
Yes, I think there's a need for the management of the Affinity Medini project to carry out environmental impact assessment. So because from the case study that we have carried out in terms of environmental impact, it shows that environmental impact assessment is needed in order to provide useful sources of assessment which will help to prepare and implement an environmental management plan for Affinity construction site. Besides that, the main purpose of environmental impact assessment is to provide developers, contractors, and government agencies involved in construction with information such as how to avoid and minimize environmental impact, guidelines for undertaking risk assessment and management, giving clear statement of environmental performance objective for each segment of the construction, as well as to suggest the best practice environmental measures. Therefore, it is a need for the management of Affinity Medini project to carry out environmental impact assessment.
Okay, thank you, Jafar. So, Ayu, for your opinion, what is the better solution for this environmental impact?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pravan. So, for my suggestion, according to the Environment Act of 1974, no person should, unless licensed, admit or cause or permit to be emitted by any noise greater in volume, intensity, or quality in contravention of the acceptable condition specified under Section 31. There is a power to specify condition of emission and also discharge. Okay, some of the measures that I have said above that can also reduce the possible of impact on humans, and also notably the risk assessment on emergency planning measure. So for my what I have studied, further mitigation measure that more specific to the human environment and management operations should aim to minimize disturbance to adjacent residential and also recreational use. Okay, we can, for example, by setting the road and timing of the construction traffic, so as to avoid the residential areas or other sensitive human receptors. Example that we can the receptors in school, hospital, and also nursing and homes, where the access restoration result from the development and also arrangement for alternative access. So it should be made for the provision of gates, bridge or stairs, identification of appropriate routes for AIS. And for the safety concerns should be addressed by such measure of implementing strict health and also safety procedures and the installation of fencing and other site security to prevent trespass and vandalism. Sites of archaeology of cultural interest should be preserved in situ where possible, as relocation is feasible throughout. Archaeological investigation should be undertaken where the mission unavoidable. So that is what I've been the solution for the human environment.
Okay, thank you very much. Azrin, is there any other solution that you want to add?
Okay, yes, there are another few ideas to protect the land environment. Okay, first, for the impact on soil and landscape may be mitigated by use of technique to minimize compaction of soil, such as restricting access to wet condition and use protective wording and low ground pressure machinery. Besides, if necessary, should be careful be undertaken so to maintain soil structure as far as possible. The imported soil should be carefully selected and properly cared for during and after emplacement and need appropriate during for building and structure for site. Besides, it can use of drip tray under stationary machine to prevent soil and grease contaminating soil and underground and minimize waste strategy. If from my idea to protect the land environment.
Okay, thank you, Azrin. Okay, as for the conclusion, what can you conclude for this case study?
In conclusion, environmental impact is a possible adverse effect caused by development, industrial or infrastructure that is human risk and construction industry. It's one of area of concern with the environmental issue. Types of environment impact, that is water, land, flora and fauna, and so on. And all the impact have a different effect, but still affect both human and ecology resources. There is a way to reduce it by use appropriate water management system, or we can use some techniques to minimize compaction of soil in construction site. If necessary, soil should be carefully removed and stored for subsequent resettlement. Therefore, the way to reduce the construction environmental impact should be responsible to all, and before some construction start, someone should realize the impact to environment and use the other way to reduce it. In addition, construction activity are required to comply with all the act, laws, as well as regulation related to the environment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in the end of our discussion, I think we achieved the scope of study in this case study in this project. Thank you to spend your time to watch it. Bye.